Hi and welcome to Bianca's Kitchen, where you can explore the world of vegan food. Autumn is apple season. Locally grown apples are now available everywhere, be it at your grocery store, at your farmer's market, or at a local farm stand if you live on the countryside. Of course, I love to eat raw apples, but I also love to preserve them. Because these days the food supply chain seems pretty uncertain, so I enjoy filling my pantry with homemade canned vegan food. Today I'm sharing how I make and can unsweetened applesauce. These are rough measurements that work great for me, but you can adjust them to your liking. If you want to use more spices, you could, for example, try vanilla. You can buy canning jars if you like, and of course the canning jar industry claims you absolutely need them, but I like to reuse pickle, jam and tomato sauce jars from the store. If you want to do that too, the lid of the jar has to be completely intact. What I like about this type of jar is the elevated circle in the middle of the lid. Before the canning, when there's no vacuum yet, you can press it down, which will make a click sound. And after the canning, the middle circle has to be pulled inside and there's no more click sound. That is a great way to check if you have successfully created a vacuum seal, and I will demonstrate it later in the video after the canning. Use any apples that you like. For unsweetened applesauce, I recommend the ones that are on the sweeter side. After washing them, dice the apples finely. Mine are organic, so I use the peel. Dicing the apples finely instead of cutting them into big chunks reduces the cooking time. The apples will cook down much faster. Fill the diced apples into a big pot. Then add the water, the cinnamon and other spices that you want to use. Some people add lemon juice for a lighter color, but I really don't want to use any sour ingredient because my applesauce doesn't contain any added sweetener. Mix everything with a big cooking spoon. Then set the pot aside and sterilize your equipment. This is important to prevent mold, especially when you don't use sugar for the applesauce. I sterilize the jars, the lids, the funnel and the ladle that I'm going to use to transfer the applesauce. Fill the pot with water, close the lid and bring the water to a boil. When it's boiling, sterilize the equipment for 10 minutes. Then carefully carry the pot to the sink. I use oven gloves for that. And I open the lid a little bit and pour out as much water as possible without any of the contents falling out. Transfer the sterilized equipment to a clean towel. Don't touch the lids with your hands. I use a fork that are also sterilized. I transfer the jars using oven gloves that only touch the bottom but never the opening. You can also use a canning jar lifter if you want to buy one. I put the pot with the apple chunks on the stove at medium to high heat and I stir it occasionally. If you cut the apples into small chunks, they boil down pretty fast. Most of the water will evaporate during the cooking process, so you don't have to be afraid of ending up with a watery result. Now it's starting to look like applesauce. The chunks are boiling down and getting smaller. The entire cooking process takes about 20 minutes on my old electrical stove. Now the applesauce has the consistency that I like. If you want it to be smooth, take the pot off the stove and use a stick blender to puree the applesauce. Very carefully, of course, since it's very hot. I want to keep some chunks, so I'm filling it into the jars now. A stainless steel funnel is a great investment because it's BPA free and you can use it forever. I have the jar right next to the stove and I'm keeping the applesauce warm at low temperature. The canning should happen quickly. Don't fill the jar completely. The opening where you screw on the lid should be free. As soon as the jar is filled, screw on the lid and fill the other jars. If the opening of a jar gets dirty, clean it thoroughly with some tissue without touching it directly with your fingers. For the canning process, I'm lining a big pot with a 100% cotton kitchen towel. You also can use a canning rack. I add my jars and check their temperature. Then I fill the pot with water that is about the same temperature, which is important for successful canning. Don't use cold water. Most people fill the pot completely, but from my experience it also works if the water level is at least 3/4 of the height of the tallest jar. It always works for me. I bring the water to a boil. When it's boiling, I can the applesauce for 30 minutes. Then I carefully carry the pot to the sink, using oven gloves, and I open the lid a little bit and pour out as much water as possible without any of the contents falling out. I use the oven gloves to place the jars on a towel, or use your canning jar lifter to take them out of the water without having to pour it out. I cover the hot jars with a kitchen towel to create an environment where they can cool down very slowly. Any temperature shock isn't good for canning. Once the jars have cooled down completely, I check if there's a vacuum seal. I press the middle part of the lid. It's completely pulled inside. No more click sound. I've created a vacuum seal. Exactly what I was hoping for. The shelf life of properly canned homemade applesauce should be at least 1 year if it's stored at a cool, dark place. So I decided to open one of my jars 2 weeks later because I'm curious. I'm very happy to see there's no mold. It looks and smells great. Perfect consistency. The cooking and the canning went very well. This is a perfect fruity dessert, low in calories and fat, and so incredibly delicious. I recommend you make some today. If you enjoyed this tutorial, give it a big thumbs up and share it with a friend. Subscribe so you don't miss my next uploads. Thanks for watching. See you next time.